So welcome back, students. Okay, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
So what's strength now? Strength is 17, so we can wait 1 or 2 more minutes, then we'll start. And slides are also visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you are now 20. We can start. Okay, in our previous class, we talked about some of the vector in which we talked about vector based on the plasmid and the viruses, and then of the combo of the virus and the plasmid based vector. So this is an example of that. Cosmid vector. Cos stand for the site of your lambda phase, and mid stand for plasmid. So it is going to have both the component of the cos and so this is going to help you in the packaging one. So if you want to do some artificial packaging, that you can go with it. And the name of this example of plasmid is PJB8. P stands for plasmid. JB is the lab from where you are going to get it. And this is how you develop it. So what different component you are going to have. And here in this thing, as we mentioned, that here you are going to have only the cos site. So this cos site is going to help you in getting a catenated way of replication, rolling circular model of the replication that we need. So when the rolling circle is going to there, then you can produce a large copy of the same segment. But for packaging, you need to go to the in vitro, means isolate the DNA and then treat with the restriction agent and go for the packaging. Once they are packaging it, then you can go for the further transfection. So here the screening, etc. All these are going to be based on your plasmid based vector, that is the ampicillin resistance you are going to have in it. This is another thing about the lambda based vector. So thing is that the property these vector that we need to use the aim of all of these vector are going to the purpose of cloning. Cloning means you want to clone produce a multiple copy of the same gene, and that is the cloning. And cloning means and in the cloning we are going to do for the fragments. We are cloning different fragments of your DNA. And if your aim is to clone whole genome, so whatever genome you are going to have. So if you talk about any of the genome, then you will find that any genome is into the thousands kb. And here what you are talking about, here just few kbs of your gene you can put into a vector. And then you want to put whole the genome you want to clone. Then certainly how many vectors and how many clones you will going to be required. Then again is going to be an issue. And if simple genome, if you talk about genome of your E. coli, if you talk about, and a plasmid vector can clone only maximum size you can go around 10 kilobase pair. So if you talk about your plasmid vector, that is PUC18, so PUC18 is going to have a size of around 2.4 kilo base pair, so then it can carry around 7.5 kilo base pair of genome. So you can see how much if you just divide by the 500 with the 7. So it is going to be thousands of the clones you need to represent whole of your genome. So if a vector can carry the larger genome, then you can represent with a few number of the clones. So the main use of lambda-based vector to clone DNA fragment that are too long to be handled by the plasmid or M13-based vector. And replacement vectors such as EMBL14 can carry up to 20 kb new DNA. So as we mentioned that our M13 can carry around 3 to 5 kb, plasmid can carry at the max 8 kb of DNA. But if you talk about the lambda-based vector, like EMBL replacement vector that we are referring, you are replacing the genes, the segment of your lambda genome, which is non-essential, that you can replace with it. So in replacing that, you can clone 20 kb. Okay, so this is ability to clone in such long fragment means a genomic library. You want to generate a library. So as you are saying, the library have the numbers of books and the stacks are there. You can locate them in which section, what type of books are there. So here also we are generating our library. Libraries are of genome. Genome simply means that refer to DNA fragments, and here you have fragmented your genome and put into a stack. So whatever the portion of your genome you need, you can visit that library and take out the gene of interest that you need. So how to define this genomic library? Genomic library is going to be a set of recombinant clone that contain all the DNA present in individual organism. So like if you talk about human genome, if you want to clone, so whatever the genome present in a human, if you put that genome into bacterial cells, into a recombinant clone, means bacterial cells contain these vectors, these recombinant vectors. That vector contain vector genome and your genome of your interest also. So as I mentioned that we are putting our genome, we are making a library in bacteria because bacteria are easy to handle. Cell size is a bit small. The smaller cell, the requirement is also not much complicated as such. If you talk about human cells, you need if you need a special arrangement, special type of media, special type of the all different types of setups that you need for human cells are going to be a complicated one. But E. coli, you simply need you don't need much things. You simply need a bench hood, laminar flow hood, and you can start working. You don't need any VSL 2, 3, 4, 5 type of specification. Even VSL 1, you can work with it. So in an E. coli genomic library, for example, contains all E. coli genes. So E. coli is, if you want to clone all the genes of E. coli into an organism, then you can say that the library that contains all the genes of E. coli. So if you need any desired gene, you can take out from the library and you can study it. So this is that simple term called the genomic libraries. So genomic library represent the clones, recombinant clones, which are representing all the DNA that present in an individual organism. So then comes as we're referring how many numbers you need to how many clones you need if you clone if you fragment. Like as I mentioned that size of E. coli genome is around 5,000 kilo base pair. And if you talk about your plasmid, in plasmid we can clone only 7. So if you divide just this genome with the 7, then what what number you are going to get? Like just I'm taking 5,000 divided by 7.5. So you are going to need around 66 that type of thing, and 66 represent also organisms. So if E. coli you were cloning, then in the lambda construct, so if the fragment is going to 17 kb fragment, if you're talking about, then you need 820 representative clones to have your E. coli genome. If you increased or if you doubled up from 7 to 35, number is gone half. So just 410 cells are going to represent all the E. coli. Okay, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, now the genome is further rising. So then you will say the representing clones, 3,000 you need for the 17 kb fragment, 30 kb fragment you need the 1500 gene. And if you talk about human, it's going to be in billions. And if it is in billions, then you need representing clones going to be 5,64,000 and 2,74,000, corresponding to 70 and 35 KB fragment. If you are talking about, then frog genome is further 10 times higher than the human genome. Then it needs uh, bit, bit more number of clones, or which number of fragments that will be cloned individual into the individual thing. Okay, so this is just a moment. Okay, so these are the bit few number that I'm referring, so that you required to represent your whole the genome. So in this way, as you feel that if the larger the genes you can carry, then you simply ask yourself why we are bothering so much clones. As I'm saying, at a less number we want to is easy to handle, but the issue is that we don't want to go with the first these individual cells or the whole genome. We need a shorter one. Shorter one is easy to handle, but large number is also difficult to handle. So we want to handle a size and a number which is manageable to us. So that in that we are going to be happy. If the size is very large, that is not manageable to us, that also going to create a problem for us. So for that, the number and the size both should be reasonable so that we can handle them easily. So simply for human and other mammals, several hundred thousands of clones are required, as you can see in this table. Simply, it is by no means impossible to obtain several hundred thousand clones, and method to use identify clone carrying desired genes can be adapted to handle such large number. So genomic library of this size by no means unreasonable. However, reducing the number of clones needed for mammalian genomic library has continually been sought. Thinking that the number is becoming a bit large, so we don't want to manage so large number, so that we further need some vectors in which we can handle these types of libraries. So then the next type things to handle such big the size of the genome, we need a vector which can handle them. So we are going to design our vector accordingly. So now I'm sharing you the thing. Just a moment. Okay, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so then this is about the new vectors that you need to handle such a large genome. So for that vector is going to be a chromosomes, as we know that the property here we took from the property of the larger size genome. So what here we are going to do here, we are going to make sub libraries. Simply you can say, like as you know that it is easy it is easy to handle small DNA fragment rather than the large DNA fragment, and but again if you are handling a small DNA fragment, then the number is going high. So what we can do, we are introducing it in between. So what we do, first we can make a library of a bit larger fragment. Then from that larger fragment, we again make a library so that handling then becomes easy. Like as if you move to in your library, then instead of going to individual book directly, what you are going to do, first you are going to, so first you are visiting to the section. So then again in the section, then you are reaching to the book. So we again do a sectioning here. So such for the sectioning that things, we design a new vector that's called the your bacterial artificial chromosomes. Or so here we can read something. Uh, when DNA clone experimentally large vector got to be designed in a such a way that to harbor large chunk of the sequence when genomic libraries were to be prepared for a higher, or in the existing natural and design vector could not be suitable. This led to design the following new vector that called the back. Back is the artificial chromosome, yak is going to be the east artificial chromosome. So what these back and yak are going to be? So this back and yak, Manaswini, please will you be able to read this for me? Manaswini, Manaswini,
Yes, sir.
please read this for me.
Okay, sir. Bacterial artificial chromosome. One of the recently designed plasmid vectors is BAC. It finds so many applications ranging from molecular biology research to drug and vaccine development. BAC is an engineered version of F plasmid of E. coli. The F plasmid is incompatibility group involved in E. coli, conjugative ability, and chromosomal transfer, which can exist as an extra chromosomal element. BAC is a circular ultra low copy number plasmid. The elements used in the construction of BAC have been sourced from different organisms. The original BAC vector, PBA C108L, is based on a mini F plasmid PMBO131 of E. coli strain ER2420S. The original back vectors are 7.4 kb, while others are 8 to 9 kb in length. Artificial chromosomes are designed in vitro from defined constituents obtained from various natural sources. Back insert size ranges from 50 kb to as large as 300 kb.
Okay, so as Manaswini mentioned that here we are referring the artificial chromosomes. Why we are saying artificial chromosomes? Because they are behaving like chromosomes. However, these are also going to be based on the plasmid. So why we are saying we need it to form of the plasmid? Because it is should exist independently in the cell. And the plasmid that we are taking here, that can carry you the large number. But as the large size, as we are increasing the size, one thing going to happen here, that the copy number. So in these large, when you're carrying the large amount of DNA, the copy number is definitely going to go down. So back in that size here is the 50 kb. So if you compare with your other vectors, like your plasmid vector that we are referring, your puck and your PBA322, there you can get only up to 10 kilobase per centimeter, but here you can go up to 15 kilobase per. So it is going to further higher than your lambda phase, where we are saying it is going up to, you can go up to 30 kilobase. And further, it's not just 50, the range is there, is from 50 kb to the 300 kb. So the size is drastically increased in this case. So this is going to be the map of your back bacterial artificial chromosomes. It is going to have different region, origin of replication is going to be there, then all other things are going to be. So how it is going to construct it? So following are the important constituent of most of your WAC. Monisini, please read it.
Yes, sir. The Ori-S and Rep-E was sourced from E. coli F plasmid. The genes Ori-S and Rep-E are unidirectional self-replicating genes. The gene Rep-E acts as an initiation factor for the assembly of replication complex at Ori-S. The genes PAR A, PAR B, and PAR C are part of SOP ABC partitioning system, carry out the function of segregation of plasmids during cell division. They ensure that each daughter cell gets one plasmid. The cloning region includes the following features: unique cloning sites BAMH1, SPH1, and HIND3 in a lac Z alpha gene, allowing for insert screening by alpha complementation, that is blue white screening. Some bags have chloramphenicol constituent as a selectable marker. The vector was added with MCS flanked by universal promoters T7 and SP6. This whole sequence is flanked on either side by GC-rich RE sites for insert accession. T7 and SP6 phage promoters help in the transcription of inserted genes. COS-N has been introduced from phage lambda. It is the site at which the enzyme terminase makes a staggered cut for packaging.
Okay, so this is the thing, the property that we mentioned here, that your back when you are constructing what you need. So thing is here at the back, these are the, when we are holding them, the artificial chromosome, but they are also a form of plasmid, you can say. So plasmid and bacterial genome, it's not much different. The difference between these two are going to be the size. Here the plasmid here is going to be used, which is going to be bit larger in the size. So when you want to use such a large thing where you can carry around 200 kilobase pair of your DNA, so then replication is going to be a bit challenging them. And with the replication also, the thing is that uh, from the transfer of these large sized fragment to a daughter cell is also a very good question. Why it is going to be a question? Because here the replication is not so much, the copy number is not so high that definitely when the cell will divide, one or two cell definitely going to have this vector. One more thing is that there, when we are wrapping these plasmid, a cell for a cell, it is a burden. Cell do not want to carry it to a next generation, so they have tend to lose it. So for that we need to for that we need to maintain them the plasmid within a cell. So for that we are introducing these genes so that they help you when when these vectors they are going to be transferred to the next generation. So for that PAR A, PAR B, PAR C, SOP ABC. So these are the going to be the part of system. They will help you when the cell divides, when the cell form. Each data cell must have one of the plasmid, one of this back during the replication. So that's why we are carrying the gene. So that as you know that in mitosis and the segregation complex occur, whose DNA that what's on the metaphysic plate, then they migrate toward the poles. So similarly, they are going to help in that way. So that they should be the part of that system in which these to segregate and reach to the next, reach to the daughter cells. Okay, so LOXP sites also we are taking from the bacteriophages. So one more thing here you should keep this line that post and segment that you need. So why you are not taking this segment? So that they got packaged into the FAS. So why, how it is going to help you? This the FAS packaging is going to help you in the purpose of the transfection. So the main issue when we are referring to the plasmid is that when the DNA is going to be larger in size, then it's going to become difficult to the transform. It is become difficult to carry by the cell. So now we have to design a mechanism by which it should be taken up by the cell. So for that, this artificial packaging we are going to do, and for that we are introducing the co-site in them also. The example of your bag is the P bag. So here we are using term P because it is going to be a plasmid, and plasmid based artificial chromosome 108L is going to be the name of it. So Manaswini, please read it.
The basic back, this was first designed in 1992 by Mel Simon and his colleagues. It is capable of cloning and stably maintaining DNA fragments more than 300 kb in E. coli, but lacks selectable marker for recombinance. Thus, the recombinant clones in PBA-C108L must be identified by colony hybridization, which is not well suited for library development. But the other genes for self-replication, copy number, and segregation of daughter plasmids are present.
Okay, so this is a drawback of this vector that you can't select them. So as we mentioned in previous class, we need a selectable marker because when you transfer them, we need to know that whether the recombinant formed or not. So for that we use some insertional inactivation or so on. So here you need to use that one so that you can check whether cells are got transformed or not just transformed, whether the cell is going to be recombinant or not. So for that we need to introduce the same selection marker that I will use in case of the plasmid, that is your LAGZ genes. So for that new vector was designed, that's called the P-Bellobac 11. So Manaswini, please read it.
This was derived from PBA-C108L by replacing the cloning site region of PBA-C108L with a DNA fragment containing the LAGZ gene and cloning sites embedded into LAGZ for colony color selection, blue for non-recombinants and colorless for recombinants. P-Bellobac 11 has two EcoR1 sites, one in the LAGZ gene and the other in the transformant section marker chloramphenicol resistance gene. However, P-Bellovac 11 is still a low copy number plasmid from the presence of PAR A and PAR B. This is of 7.4 kb size.
Okay, so this is the vector and some drawbacks are here also. The drawback is copy number, so copy number is going to be here. This is a map of P-Bellobac 11. So what it's specific to have, you can see that the LAGZ gene is there, and within this LAGZ gene, we are going to have EcoR1, SMA1, BAMH1, HIM3. So if you clone your gene within these fragments, then they're going to lead to inactivation of LAGZ gene, and the inactivated cells are going to be white in color, whereas the cells which are utilizing the cell and having intact LAGZ genes, they are going to be blue in color. Okay, so other genes are also are intact in it. It includes PAR genes and other genes that we need. Okay, so another examples are in this series are PEC-BAC1, PBC 3.62. Okay, so now come to the application. So what are the way to the application of this vector? Marcin, please read the application.
Applications of BAC vectors. Quicker production, validation, and release of new vaccines through reverse genetic approaches. Creation of physical mapping of large genomes. Preparation of genomic libraries of higher organisms. The cloning and study of genomes of several large DNA and RNA viruses. Act as infectious clones, which made possible the study of human cytomegalovirus, herpes viruses, and coronaviruses, etc. Genome sequencing of higher organisms was done in the Human Genome Project. BACs are very useful in the making of transgenic animals with segments of human DNA, applications in investigation of genetic disorders and gene therapy.
Okay, so these are the few applications of your batch. Simply you can see here that the Human Genome Project that we know now the human genome is sequenced quite, I think, more than 10, 15 years back. And so for that handling that so large human genome, the Becky artificial chromosome was utilized. So in it, like if you want to ask me to clone, to sequence the genome, just you need to give me a few clones that is going to represent around 1,000 kilobase pair of your genome. So that is going to be a good help. And like when I got that back, then I can further subclone it in a smaller fragment. But yes, having it is going to help you in the sequencing the genome. So next type of the artificial chromosome is going to be yeast artificial chromosome. So further thing is that the bacterial system we have utilized. Now we're going to utilize the eukaryotic system. Like these clones that we're referring, these we can do only for the bacteria. But if you want to clone in some eukaryotic system, because many of the like if you want to expression things or some other type of the activity, it's all the activity of human body is not possible in case of your prokaryotic system. For something you need a eukaryotic system also. For that you need, if you are working in eukaryotic system, then you need a eukaryotic vector. So as in case of when you mentioned yeast vector, we mentioned that a circular genome that we call the 2-micron circle, that is going to be a type of plasmid for the yeast that you can utilize based on vector yeast episomal vector YEP we call. So we similarly here we are going to use yeast artificial chromosomes also. Manaswini, please read it.
Yeast artificial chromosomes are genetically engineered special linear DNA cloning vectors that resemble normal yeast chromosomes. The host cells are yeast cells. Basic structural features of YACs were developed from yeast centromere shuttle plasmids, that is YCP series. These YACs can clone DNA inserts of up to 2000 kilobase pairs. These are yeast DNA vectors of small size. They can be cloned and selected in host cells like E. coli and Baker's yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. They are shuttle vectors. They are circular in E. coli and linear in budding yeast cells. It was first described by Murray and Sotak in 1983.
Okay, so one more term here came that is called the shuttle vector. So shuttle is a, as you say, shuttle means which will take from one location and put it into another location. So which can migrate, which can move between two different things. To that we call the shuttle. There are also the vectors that we are saying we are going to use some vector that called the shuttle vector. Shuttle vector means which can use for the both. Both means you can use for the prokaryotic system, also for the eukaryotic system. So those vectors which are able to replicate within the bacteria and also within the eukaryote. So such type of vector we call the shuttle vectors. So how these shuttle vectors are going to be helpful? So if for like as I mentioned that when you're talking in terms of these eukaryotic cells, they are bit larger in size. So when the cells are going bit larger in size, it becomes difficult to handle. Bacteria are very small in size, they're easy to handle, they replicate fast. So the beauty of the both the system if you want to use, then you need a vector that should be of a shuttle type. Shuttle type means it can able to replicate within the black bacteria and also within the eukaryote. So what you need for that, if you want to make a bacteria to replicate in the yeast and also into the bacteria, so it means you need both the type of the origin of replication, that origin of replication to work in the bacteria and also need to work in the yeast also. So here there is such type of vector being utilized. So example of that vector is the yeast centromere vector. So centromere what means it is going to have a centromere. Means these vectors are going to have all the property that your chromosome is going to have. In case of the eukaryotic, chromosomes are going to be linear. You are not having a circular chromosome. So what they are going to have, they are going to have a telomere, they are going to have a centromere, so that they can establish themselves on the metaphysic plate and they will migrate toward the ends during the replication. So now how you are going to construct these YAC vectors. So Melissa, please read the construction of YAC.
Beta-lactamase gene for screening and PMB1 origin of replication were taken from bacterial sources. The vector
Okay, so
includes
these two things that written here, they're taken from the bacterial source because you are creating a shuttle thing. Shuttle system means it should work in both E. coli and also in the yeast. So that the component that written the first beta lactamase, that is ampicillin resistant gene, and the origin of replication, that is bacterial origin of replication. You are taking from the bacterial plasmid itself. Please continue.
the vector includes autonomously replicating sequence ARS and that contains origin of replication from the yeast source.
Okay, so first two lines are telling you what it is going to have. It is going to have both the replication machinery, one for the required for the bacterial machinery, second required for the eukaryotic machinery. So the ARS is autonomously replicating sequences. They are the sequence that is, or simply you can say that they are the origin of replication for the eukaryotic cells. So you are that you need from the 2 micron circle you are going to take it. Then please second, third point.
CEN4 DNA sequence was integrated into the vector from centromere region of chromosome 4 of yeast. This sequence behaves like yeast centromere genetically and it confers mitotic stability to the vector.
Okay, here the send means centromere, send 4. So send centromere for the reason you have taken out. So this is going to behave like a centromere. Centromere is the intrinsic property of your chromosomes. So you have taken the centromere and you put into the your vector. So three components we have taken. First, we have taken the beta lactamase and the PMB1 origin of replication, that is for the bacterial one. So whenever this vector is going to be in the bacteria, it should replicate there. And if it is going to be in a eukaryotic system, then it should replicate there also. For that, you need the ARS1 or eukaryotic replicating origin of replication. Then, as you mentioned, there are chromosomes. So chromosome means when they are going to be in eukaryote, they should migrate toward the poles also. They will migrate toward the pole only if they are going to have centromere, otherwise they won't migrate, and they won't arrange themselves on the metaphysic plate also. Okay, so this is the property that you need for the eukaryotic system. Next thing is the ampicillin agent you can utilize for the screening for the reflection of the bacterial system, but yeast is not a sensitive to ampicillin. It won't die if you check whether the bacteria is there or not. So ampicillin based selection you can't use for the yeast. So then what you need? You need another selectable marker that should work in the yeast itself. So for that is going to be the Ura A3. Manisini, please continue. Manisini?
Yes, sir. URA3 selectable marker for selection on media deficient in uracil or uridine.
Okay, so what this Ura is going to Ura stand for the uracil means it is a deficiency, means your cells are going to be deficient. Cell will not be able to grow if you do not provide uracil in the media. So such type of cells you are going to use as a host. So if those type of cells are there, so what you need to do? Either you need to provide them the uracil, or if the clone is going to have there, if the cells are going to have this vector, they will become independent for the uracil. Okay, in the uracil free media, the marker is going to present in the chromosomes, they will grow, otherwise they won't grow. So another thing that is for the property that we need for the chromosome is the telomere. So please read the BISS-HIS3, please, Mansuni.
Yeast HIS3 is flanked by telomere sequences which are adjacent to two cloning sites for BAMH1. So should I read the next point?
Okay, so these are the telomeres. Yes, please read the next one.
SUP4 suppressor gene for tyrosine tRNA taken from yeast contains a recombination site for insert for color screening. Normal cells with suppressor activity don't appear red, and those with the vector are red in color.
Okay, so here the thing that the component that as I mentioned, as you seen here, you need all the component as the name is there that it is going to have yeast artificial chromosome. So the chromosome you need centromere, you need origin of replication, you need telomere. So these are the component of your chromosome, just chromosome. But if you want to serve them as a vector, then what you need a selectable marker, selective, and you are generating a vector which is going to work for both the systems, the bacterial system and the eukaryotic system. Then you need screening a marker also, that's the ampicillin in case of bacteria, and Ura A3 in case of uracil deficiency, uracil gene for the your uh, yeast. And further, you can use the SUP4 for the tyrosine TR. Okay, so these are the things how your vector is going to look like. This is P YAC. So here the term P stands for the plasmid. Why P is the plasmid? Because it is also going to work for your vector system. It have the component of your plasmid, have organ of replication from the PMB1. So that's why we are using term P. And it is YAC. It is artificial chromosome also. It contains the telomere, centromere, and all these things. So that's why it is a YAC. So one more thing is there here that we have to go to the so you can see the oocyte is there, UV3 is there, and TEL is there. So these TEL are the telomeres, and it means they are going to have between a region is there where the dimension site is going to be there. So when it is going to be circular, it is going to replicate within your bacterial cell. Once you want to transfer to the eukaryotic system, then you have to linearize it, treat it with the BMH1, and it is going to be linear, and linear is going to serve you as a vector for yeast, and then you can transfer this into the yeast. And the cloning site are there with the SUP4 as of SM1 to SM3. So insertion inactivation you can do for the hair. Okay, so this is the way how your vector yeast starting from look like. Okay, so this is going to be linear yak as I mentioned. So if you treat with the BAMH1, so BAMH1 you treat with the BAMH1, they will remove this HSI3. So then this telomere are going to be at the end. Then telomere, TRP1, ARS, centromere, MCS, and the UA3 that is going to be there. And again telomere that is for the linearized yak. And this linearized yak is going to replicate inside the yeast and also going to arrange on the metaphysic plate and then leads to the migration toward the ends. Okay, so how we are going to do, what mechanism that we're going to do for the cloning? So what you need, so as we need to linearize it. Centromere is there, so everything is there, so selective marker is there. So digestion with the MH1, when you digest it, you will going to linearize. So this segment you are going to remove. The telomere are there. So now further, you can treat with the your again the E-carbon. So E-carbon is going to be there at which location you can see the E-carbon is going to be. Here is the E-carbon between the centromere and the selective marker A. So if you treat with the E-carbon, then these two fragments are going to be there. Then add the segment that you want to insert, treat with the ligase, and the E-start will come there. So now this E-start chromosome you can transform to the yeast. So then yeast is going to replicate. They can replicate in the selection media. It's the media which do not have the urethane in which they can grow. So the you can use this way. The yeast spheroplast select for the A and B, and the enzymatic digestion in the red cell. Wow. So this is the way how you can clone in the yeast artificial chromosome, and they're going to be resources. So Manish, please read from this point.
The
The
plasmid yak
plasmid.
are first propagated in E. coli and purified subsequently. First, the digestion is made with BAMH1 that results in a linear long fragment with two telomeres at the ends. Second, digestion happens in SUP4 gene for integrating the insert to be cloned. This creates two fragments, one on the left and the other on the right. The left one contains marker TRP1, ARS1, and CEN4 from left to right with telomere on the extreme left. The right fragment has URA3 marker and telomere from left to extreme right.
Then the insert is integrated such that its flanking cell on the left and UR3 on the right. This linear recombinant transform to the east. So now the arrangement is made in a way if there is no ligation is there. So like if the insert is not inserted and they are not ligating. So if you transform unligated component in the east, then this component is not going to have centromere in it. So then also not the origin of replication in it. So it's not going to replicate. This segment is not going to have telomere at the another end, so they want to further migrate towards the pole. So if both the segments are to be ligated, then only they will lead to whole chromosome, and only the transformation of this ligated component is only going to uh, maintain itself within the yeast cell. Otherwise, it's not going to be maintained within the yeast cell. So then coming to the application of what are going to be application. So application wise, more or less it is going to be similar as we read in case of the yeast. In case of the back, so the main aim of designing this that you can carry a larger fragment. So here you can go with the 2000 kilo base pair size. And simply if you want to clone your E. coli genome is 5000 kilo base pair. So just three, you can clone the 5000 kilo base pair in three yeast cells. So three cells are going to represent three recombinant of your yak are going to represent your whole of your E. coli genome. So the major two things how you're going to proceed for it if you see. So first the plasmid, the vector, the high amount of the startup material that is in the vector alone. So vector you are getting, you are cloning, you are propagating in the E. coli itself, because vector when the vector alone is there, its size is going to be very small. Its size is going to be in few base pairs. So few thousand base pairs. So that's why you can grow easily into the E. coli. But when you are using it for the cloning, then we are putting into the yeast. So that's why it is a shuttle type of vector. It can grow. You can use in the both yeast and the E. coli. So it has some limitation also. So large DNA fragment fragile. So when you're cloning the large, as I mentioned, it is difficult to handle large fragments. So that when you're isolating it, they're going to prone to breakage and leading to problem rearrangement. So higher rate of loss of entire yak. So the rate of losing the chromosome is also there, because no cell want extra thing, extra luggage with it. So they try to lose it. So different separate from the host chromosomes. As in case of the plasmid vector, we mentioned that we are separating on the basis of size. They are of smaller size, chromosome DNA is a bit larger size, but here the size difference is not much large, so you can't separate them. And to analyze them, you can't analyze on your normal electrophoresis also. because on normal electrophoresis 2000 base pairs you can't separate them. So the electrophoresis also to be special for it. You need a pulse field gel electrophoresis so that you can shift, change the direction of your electric field alternatively so that you can separate these fragments. Yield of DNA is not going to high because VAC is when the YAC is going to, because the copy number is 1. So you need a large amount of cells to isolate a good amount of your YAC. So chromosomes are unstable. So simply when you are, it is become difficult to handle that one. So some problems that you're resolving it, but others are going to be generated. So now talk about the differences that are going to be there. YAC and BAC. YAC you're designing for the east, and it is going to be shuttle vector in nature. It is going to be designed for the E. coli. It is not a shuttle one. It is only for the bacterial system only. Host is going to be yeast, and host is going to be bacteria. Insert size 1 to 2 kb. Insert size is going to be sorry, it is not kb. It is going to be uh, uh, TB. So you can say 1000 kb. So this mistake is there. Insert size will be 100 to 300 kb. Difficult to purify, easy to purify, chimeric chance 40%, rarely chimeric, unstable in host, it is stable, chance of deletion isn't there, there is no chance. Propagation first in E. coli you need to do, then transfer to the yeast. Here you can directly go from the E. coli, you don't need two different hosts, so it is not much laborious. Laborious. Okay, so this is all about your large vectors or east ICV chromosome, vector ICV chromosome. So with that, our three components of your module 3 is done. Now the last part is there, that is the expression vector. So some of the expression we have vector we already talked about, but in detail we will talk in our next lecture. So with that, I am resting my talk now. So who is absent today? Adish, 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 Adish is absent. Uh, Kshitij, Kshitij is there. Kshitij. Okay, so please keep on leaving the team by turning on your camera. Okay, so except Adish, all of you are present. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay happy. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
except
sir.
Adish, all are present.
Sir,
Yes, Namrata.
Sir Shakti.
Who else
Sir,
are present today? Okay,
Vivek.
Shakti and Adish. Yes. Yes,
Sir, I'm
Vivek.
present.
Ah,
I'm present, sir.
Shakti and Ashish. Sorry, Adish.
Sir, I'm present.
Who is present?
Shakti.
Then why you say you are absent?
No, sir, I
Only
was saying I have a question.
okay. Pucho.
Yes, sir. So the table you've shown, just a second, sir. Yes, sir. So the table you've shown in E. coli, when we say that when we come from 17 kb fragments to 35, the number is exactly half. But in other species, it's not. It's around half, but it's not exactly half. So why is it so?
See, uh, it's not always happen that one cell is going to when we are making it, it is going to present that one. So size is also that you are seeing here. It's sometimes vary. So that's why you need a bit larger cells to represent the whole the genome. So it's not going to be when we said that size is 100 kb. So 100 kb is going to two cells are going to be two clones are going to be enough to represent this 100 kb. If your cloning set is going to 50, okay. So if in one clone you can clone 50, still we can't say that the two clones are going to represent whole of 101. So we may need three also. That's why the number is not doing half exactly when we are going to a larger size of the genome. But for smaller size, we can certainly say that yes, less numbers are going to be there. Number even if you write 100 and 102, 100 and 102 are not much different, but from 50, 100 and 200 definitely are going to be different. So that's the reason you are seeing in that table. Number is not exactly half in case of when the genome size is going to be very high, wherever genome size is going to be small. We can, this table is a rough table. It's not a exact table we have said there. Okay, when you are exactly working in the cloning, then you will found that what we are theoretically saying, but it's not. It is different when you are reaching to the practicality. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So that is just theoretical number. When you reach to the practical numbers, then you may see much more difference.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So if no question, then we can end our meeting.